boy watching Powerpuff Girls when Mojo Jojo, the bad guy, sometimes will be surrounded by all these three Powerpuff Girls and he can't do anything. He's all, tackled in all directions. That's how I feel this morning. I've got three amazing women in the studio. Remember, we're live on Sunny FM, on Facebook and on YouTube, okay? So come on right now and check us out. We've got a big conversation for you this morning. We're talking dyslexia this morning, and my guest, I'll introduce them quickly. By the meantime, please, Sunny 88.7 on Facebook and on YouTube. Please join us right now and let's have this conversation. It's very important to me because I think when my son was younger, when you're a new father and sometimes your son is sleeping or your daughter, and you go and check if they're breathing, to see whether they're still alive because they're all, quiet and, sleeping. There were times I asked myself, is he okay, my wife? Because he had all these odd behaviors there, so there were times I just thought, is he normal? Because he was sometimes he was a bit too hyper. He would say things some way, but then he turned out fine, and so this is a very important topic for me that we discuss for parents who are now at the very early stages of trying to discover what can they do. This morning we're talking to Justina Asafoje. It's good my glasses is here. Justina is the inclusive lead of ADO, ADO. She is also the founder and CEO of JAA Consultancy, which focuses on the areas of special education needs and inclusion in relation to education. She's got over 30 plus years experience of working with children, young people and families. She's a seasoned educator, a trainer, lecturer, parent, advocate, and special education needs specialist as well. Justina delivers in Ghana and UK respectively. Also here Samantha Barretha-Kwa as well. Samantha is the co-founder and director of the online tutoring company Aspiring Minds Academy and a professional counselor and leadership coach based in Accra, Ghana. Passionate about fostering resilience and growth in children and adolescents, Samantha has worked with young people aged 7 to 21 most of her working career. Her experience includes working as a senior practitioner for the Youth Offending Service and the Business Mentoring Programs Manager at a further education college in UK and a career and guidance counselor here in Ghana as well. And also Barbara Mansua Brew is also here. She's a certified counselor, academic administrator, and Cambridge exam officer at Alpha Beta Education Center, and she's got deep passion for child and adolescent counseling. She's been working in the school space since September 2010, supporting students, parents, and educators. With extensive experience, she's dedicated to fostering holistic development and creating nurturing environment for young people to thrive. Her expertise is academic administration combined with her counseling background uniquely equips her to guide students through both academic and personal challenges. These women all here with me this morning. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank
How
you so much
are
for having
all
us.
of you doing?
Really well.
Very blessed.
Excited.
Happy to be here.
Good to have you here. Guys, join us, okay? Sunny 88.7 FM on social media, Facebook and YouTube, and let's get talking. Today I want us to start as if we're talking maybe for the very first time. You've never spoken about the subject of dyslexia. Let's start it. What is dyslexia, and how can a parent notice or see dyslexia? You can take it, among you three.
Yeah. So dyslexia is a learning difference which majorly affects reading and writing. So the processing of information, recognizing letters, knowing how to blend letters to form words. So for parents who are concerned or thinking, actually, what should I be looking out for? Generally, you can tell from as young as a child, one and a half, once you're introducing letters into their experience, are they recognizing the letters? Are they remembering it? when they start to form letters, are they writing it the right way round, or is it back to front? As they're learning, so first you need to learn to recognize letters, then you need to be able to know the sounds those letters make. Are they able to remember those? Do they get them confused? And then once you know the sounds, then you start to blend them together to make like ka, a, ta. And once they start that learning process, are they particular words, letters that they trip over, that they're really struggling with? And then it goes to reading fluency. Are they really struggle to be able to read fluently, to understand the text, to comprehend the text, to be able to write and make it legible? So, common words that would be spelt, are they spelling it with missing letters or back to front? Things like that.
Yeah, I think she's covered all of the things that we would look out for with a child that you would suspect has dyslexia. So.
But I mean, as you're talking, big concern for me is that's a very young age where even normal children may still, miss things up. So what are the real keys a parent listening to us this morning may be able to put a finger on that? Well, my child is dyslexic.
Okay. So, sorry, I'll take this one. Sure. That's okay. So first, I guess for parents, know that all children there isn't a normal and an abnormal kind of thing. All children learn in very different ways and at different stages. And although every child goes through the same stage, they'll go through it at different times at different rates. So you might get a child who's actually reading at 2, but you might get another child who doesn't read until 7. Every child is different. However, if you see that consistently your child is struggling when it comes to literature, again, like nursery rhymes that you sing all the time with them that they can't remember, when they see letters. So by the age of 1.5, you expect that your child will be able to recognize a, or even the first letter of their name. So for example, their name is Sewa. They'll know that's Sewa. They'll know that. But if they're not able to remember that information, and that's one of the really big areas as well, is around memory and recall. If they're not able to remember those things and you're having to keep repeating and keep reinforcing it, then you need to start really be observant and start thinking about, okay, I'm a bit concerned here. Let me just observe and keep an eye. And once they've started school, have the conversation with the teacher to say, I'm a little bit worried because I've noticed this about my child. Can you just keep an eye as well? And can you see? And when children are introduced to like spelling tests, are they consistently struggling to remember the spellings and get them right? So all of those kind of things parents should be looking out for.
Anything maybe you might want to add to it?
Yeah, so I think in the school environment, educators will also be tracking the progression, seeing how it's taking for this particular child to pick up words, to be interested in what is going on in the classroom. So with that tracking, educators can advise parents, this is what I've observed, probably for a week, 2, a term, and this is what I suggest we delve deeper into. Then we know that we are taking a track record, and it should be intentional, so that we don't diagnose cases that shouldn't be so. So once we're intentional about it, we should be able to give professional advices to parents.
So let's say now I know this is my daughter. She needs help. What should be the next step after passing over the stage where I know that, okay, this is my daughter, and now what should be the next step after we know that, okay, she needs special attention in this area? What should be the next step?
Yeah, intervention is key. So we know from research and study that the first 5 years of a child's life are absolutely crucial, and that's where the foundational blocks of learning are created. So if you picture it like a house, to build a house you need a very strong foundation. Without that, the house is likely to topple or you'll have problems later. So their learning foundation has to be really cemented, and the best way to do that is through early intervention. So as early as you can get that intervention for your child, so that intervention are specific programs of learning that have been designed to support children overcome those particular barriers. There are particular curriculums that have been written that you would follow. So a child should be having at least 20 minutes every single day, that they have the opportunity to learn the strategies that will help them overcome whatever the barrier is to engaging with the written text. So that would be one of the first things that I would say. Lady.
Okay, so from a parent's perspective, I want to talk about what you should be doing in the home, and it's really about supporting your child, acknowledging the challenges that they may be going through, not comparing them. Maybe you have other children in the home who are reading perfectly fine, or they're meeting all their milestones. But one thing you really don't want to do is compare your child with others, because it's really about just a different way of learning. So how can you support them at home? Have an opening ear, good communication. Give them the opportunity to speak about maybe the frustrations that they're feeling through learning at school, the challenges they're facing. Once they're coming from a supportive home, it gives them that ability to be more resilient, because they know even if I try and I don't succeed, I'm encouraged, I'm supported. My parents, my teachers, my siblings, they're still encouraging me, so that your child will become more resilient. And it's one step in helping them to face the challenges and, grow and become the best version of themselves. So in the home, definitely it's about being supportive.
Well, if you just joined us, if you've got a question, you've got a comment, you can either share with us on Facebook at Sunny 88.7, or you can share on our WhatsApp at 0540-130684. That is 0540-130684. I'm hoping that all of us, okay, right now, we can help a parent out there, even if it's just one person, to understand through the eyes of a dyslexia child how do they feel usually, from the academics to probably maybe the emotional or social difficulties they go through. If we can break it down, how parents can understand these children through their own eyes. I mean, how would a dyslexia child behave? How do they feel on a day-to-day basis? If we can help parents to understand and feel, quite more closer to their children.
Yes, so we want parents to understand their children, looking at how their children feel when it comes to their academics. So they go through the academic challenges. So it's how the mind processes written languages. So for instance, for it to be very practical, when we've jammed words together and we ask you to form a particular sentence with it, sometimes looking for where A is, B is, because they are all jammed up, then it gives the parent a fair idea. That is what my child is going through. That is how my child sees things when he's trying to decode the words, bring meaning to whatever they want to read. With that understanding, the parent will be able to know that, wow, I need to support my child, because imagine trying to learn something new. For instance, if a parent is learning a skill, for the first time, it's challenging. But with time, with patience, the parent is able to overcome it. So once the parent sees that this is what my child is going through with that kind of lens, they can give them all the accommodations and guidance as to how they can overcome that particular challenge. It takes time, though. It takes time, but it's doable. So that is what we want the parent to understand and picture how their child is feeling, especially when they go to school and they're in the classroom with students that can read. So for instance, if they're given a reading assignment of 30 minutes and your child is not able to complete that particular assignment, with the parents understanding that, well, this is the challenge we have been able to identify, you give room for improvement, space to say that, can my child be allowed to read 45 minutes? Then with that, we know that we are supporting our child. Yes, so that is it.
Yes, I mean, fantastic. I mean, recently my wife had to draw my attention to how the speed with which I teach my children their homework. When you're from work, you're tired, and you probably want to move on away from the homework and quickly do something else, get ready for the next day or something. And so I wanted them to do things quite faster, and it became, at those times becomes, I think, a bit emotional for her. seen me rush him through his homework, and sometimes I've got a little ruler on the side that, listen, you've got to be quick with this. So you don't know this, can't you do this quickly? I'm just looking at all these and thinking how difficult parents go through, especially the social difficulties these children, go through, the how people will shun them. I mean, recently myself and Jennifer went to a school which had dedicated special rooms for children who needed a little bit of an extra attention. I don't know what you would say to educators who are listening to us this morning, because not every school is friendly towards maybe a dyslexia child. What can schools do to accommodate these children?
I think schools need to first review how they teach and recognize that there's more than one way to teach. And so having a multisensory approach, so recognizing that some children, they learn by doing. Some children, they learn from what they see. Some children just need to hear it. Some children need to do a bit of seeing, a bit of hearing, a bit of doing. And so recognizing all of those children are in your class. So how can I deliver this subject so that in a way that all of them will understand and all of them will be able to do their best? And I think it goes down to leadership. School leaders need to be invested in their staff team, get training for them, because no one is going to wake up and just suddenly know how to teach in a multi-sensory way, because our teacher training programs don't have that as an intrinsic part of the program.
You're right.
So there's a responsibility, I think, for school leaders to ensure that their teachers are well trained and their teachers feel confident about how they're supporting the diversity in their classroom. And then there's also a responsibility systemically, like government-wise, making sure that actually our teacher training programs are designed and equipped for the children of today. How we taught 30 years ago is not how we can teach now. We have to change the way that we teach, because our children are really different now. Technology is a tool that we can really use to help our children that we may not be using enough. So it's really reviewing, what are we doing, how well is it working, and if it's not, what can we change?
But then another tangent away from this is, I have a feeling a parent with a child with dyslexia might also need a tip or two on how to even handle themselves as well, because I think it will be very time consuming and frustrating working with children like this. How can they also handle themselves as well?
So I think as a parent, you have to initially accept and acknowledge, okay, your child is learning in a different way, and understand that they're not bad, they're not abnormal, they're not, some of the words, the unkind words we hear used on children who learn differently. So that's the first thing that as a parent you need to appreciate and accept, and then have patience. It's easier said than done, of course, but let's try and be patient with our child, knowing that they are able to learn, they just learn differently. So what can we do to make the environment more friendly for them? So you said challenges with homework and trying to get your child to finish it in a certain amount of time. So one of the techniques we would say is, don't make the homework one long activity. If the work they need to do may take an hour, let's break it up into smaller, maybe 20-minute sections. So after those 20 minutes, you can praise your child and say, oh, well done. You've been able to complete 20 minutes. Have a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to it. You see, you're then able to give them that positive reinforcement. They'll be more encouraged. They're like, okay, I can do this. But facing a 1-hour written assignment may be really daunting, overwhelming. In the end, they won't even want to do the work at all. So these are some of the techniques that you can use at home as parents, breaking it up into small manageable tasks and encouraging them, giving them that positive reinforcement. Remembering it's not about being perfect, it's not about the end goal initially, it's about the small steps that they're able to achieve. So
one big one for me is the support. That parents can access, is even for children. Are there special support that, available out there? And how can parents, get a little help in being at least much better than how they're doing things now?
Yeah, so as Africa Dyslexia Organisation, we are NGO that's set up to raise awareness, but also to offer that input and support. So parents can come onto our website. There's lots of resources, information. We can direct them to places where they can access specialist intervention and therapy. But the most important thing I would encourage all parents to do is just read and research. You know, there is so much information out there on how you can support a slow reader, a late reader, someone who finds it really difficult with comprehension. There are so many resources out there that parents can tap into. So rather than the first step is going to pay for like really expensive things that are not sustainable, look and see how much you can do yourself as a parent through just your reading and your research, what you can apply. And then when you reach a point that actually this is beyond me, I would need professional input, then bring in the professional input, because it can get expensive and we have to be realistic in terms of what is doable and what is not. So I would encourage parents to really try and research for yourself, especially if your child is in a school that the school is not ready to undertake that intervention. You can't wait for the school to be ready. You have to put the work in for your child now, because if you get the work in now, it will stand them in good stead when they go to much harder study, when they go to high school, when they're moving on to do much more demanding learning. The work that you would have put in early will stand them in good stead.
Now, I'm just looking back at some of my colleagues back at work, you know, some of your colleagues back in university, and the way, how different they used to do things. We used to think so differently of them, but probably have gone through life not getting any help at all. And so they become these people who are very difficult to work with, even though there could have been help right at the beginning. And so I wish we can probably put maybe a website, some numbers out there for people who might want to reach out and at least talk to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Come onto the website, it's www.africadyslexia.org, and get in contact with us. We are very responsive, and if you want us to come to your school and talk to your teachers about how they can implement some of these strategies, we're open to doing that. We have training available that we deliver to schools across Ghana that people can access. So we really want to empower educators. We want to empower parents. We also want to raise the awareness that there are many, many, many dyslexic people out there. They say 1 in 5 people are dyslexic. That's a significant number.
Huge.
And if we can provide the support for them, the impact that it can have on us as a country, our GDP would be so affected by people being able to access jobs and do them well with confidence because they've had this support in place. They've learnt the strategies that they can use to help them in the workplace. We would see a real transformation in our society.
Fantastic. Barbara, let me give you your last words before we go.
Okay, so as we create awareness, we encourage parents to also have open conversations when they go to their children's school. Through the observation they've had at home, they should be able to let their class teacher know that, well, I have assessed my child have been diagnosed being dyslexic, this is what I have read more about, so how can we work together so that now there's a plan tailored for your child. It doesn't become all the children are going through the same lesson plans that the teachers have done. Parents shouldn't shy away from it. They should be able to be confident, have conversations, draw plans, review the plans. With that, then we are very intentional about how you want your child to succeed in the school environment.
You're right. Samantha?
I think I would just want to conclude and say, as parents, be that advocate for your child. Speak up for them. Be the voice. So you've got a few tips today. Meet with the teachers, your child's class teacher, support them and help your child also to speak up for themselves and be their own advocates. And know that academic challenges are one thing, but they can thrive in many different areas also. So let's be the voice for our children.
Justina, you might want to take a last one before we go.
Yeah. So dyslexia is here, and we need to be aware, and we also need to recognize that dyslexic people are creative, amazing people who contribute so much to our society. So we all need to get behind and look at how do we support, how do we recognize, how do we take away the shame and the stigma, and celebrate individuals and teach them in a way that's meaningful for them.
Well, somebody was asking a question. Maybe I can throw it in before on Facebook. Adam David Adegu said, what is the challenge in the wonderful work they are doing? Is the way, in a way, can they help some parents who are not educated at all? I mean, I think that this is what we're doing. But then, are there any challenges you might want to share out there?
In terms of how we're delivering our work,
That's right.
One of the biggest challenges is access. We don't have the access to the schools. We would like to train all public teachers on dyslexia awareness. We would like to train as many parents on how to support their young people at home, but we don't have access to them. So we need to get access to these schools. We need support with funding, fundraising, so that we can provide these for free for the schools